Hey everyone, this is Leo over at TechLine, and I got myself a brand new toy, well at least new to me, over the Christmas break, a MetaQuest 2, the 128GB model, and it comes with two free games, the Resident Evil 4 VR game and Beat Saber. So I want to get this unboxed and try a couple of games on it, including PC games. But before we get over there, this video is brought to you by us over at TechLinePCs.com, where you can check out our store for custom mid-range builds, along with our consolation page, where you can fill in whether you'd like an upgrade, a new build, a pre-built PC, along with a budget, and we'll work with you on the PC of your choice. Check us out again over at TechLinePCs.com. Now let's get over to the unboxing of the MetaQuest 2 over here. As just kind of a quick side story, I've been wanting to actually get into VR for the last 2 years now, but I wanted to make sure that I had the right and proper PC and enough games for it to actually be worth it for me. And I ended up over at a VR arcade a couple of months ago, and I said I had to get me this thing immediately. I was playing games like Super Hot, I was playing games like Beat Saber while I was there. I'm like, well, time for me to finally get one, especially when I saw this at a $50 sale. Alright, now let's just make sure that we get this thing out of its box. And let's pop this baby open. And we can see the contents that are inside. It's pretty bare bones, actually. It's got exactly what you can expect from a full-on VR kit. It's got a pair of these controllers that I have here with multiple buttons on each of them. It has a hold button on them, a trigger button, a pair of home buttons, some dual analog controls that are on it, and some face buttons that are on the front. Each of these have varying purposes depending on the kind of game that you're playing, but I'm mostly playing shooters with these. Secondly, we have ourselves a little accessory box that this comes with. Ignore my difficulty of trying to actually open up this box. And it's pretty bare bones as to what we actually have inside of here. It's got a little manual, which of course I will ignore until I actually need it, and a charging cable, a USB-C charging cable that's in it, and a little adapter. I haven't really used it that much because it's not very long. It's only about 3 or 4 feet long, and it doesn't plug too far into my computer from there. And of course the code for my free copy of Resident Evil 4 VR, which we will get into a little bit later in the video. And lastly, the coup de grace, if you will, the actual MetaQuest 2 headset itself. And while we get this unboxed, just a quick note about the actual device itself. Normally, if you try to go to purchase this thing right now, it is $400, but I ended up getting it for $350 due to a Christmas sale that they were having. And it also came with the 2 free games that I was mentioning, both Resident Evil 4 VR, which you saw the card for a little bit earlier, and it came with Beat Saber, a lightsaber-looking rhythm game. Let's pop this bad boy open. And of course we'll get ourselves a better look at the device itself. Nice couple of straps that are on it so you can adjust it. I have a very large head. I'm so glad it has all these straps that are on it. But of course the peel. And it's a clean looking device. And if you look under it, we can see that there's a pair of volume buttons that are under it, so we can either increase the volume up and down on it, a charger port on the side, and a volume port. Let's see about playing some games. First game we're going to start off over here is going to be Half-Life Alyx, which I'm going to say off the bat, I went ahead to start this review, and I did not stop playing Half-Life Alyx until I was done with it. You are doing yourself a disservice if you own yourself any VR headset and you do not play this game. It is incredible. Now with that in mind, out of all the VR games that I do end up testing and playing throughout this video, Half-Life Alyx happens to be the most demanding of them. A lot of VR games don't actually require a really heavy computer. Any kind of mid-range $600 computer can essentially play most VR games that I've seen that are out there. And we'll actually put up the specs that we have for this game, as I am going to be building a PC with the very specs that you see here on screen pretty soon actually, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. But this game, absolutely immersive. Every gun feels so amazing, especially as you upgrade them throughout the game. Every interaction you have with the characters, absolutely phenomenal. The shooting mechanics just feel satisfying, and it's just always a rush to deal with every single one of these fights that we have on screen. Next game I want to jump into is going to be Star Wars Squadron, a game type that I feel goes very well with VR headsets. Anything that involves piloting a cockpit, really first person anything in general by design. And this is actually the first game, and probably the only game out of those that I've played in this list, that actually left me feeling physically disoriented. As you can even see from the cockpit footage over here, as we're inside of a TIE fighter in Star Wars, there's a lot of spinning. There's a lot of moving around here constantly. And I would imagine that actual pilots have to deal with this on a regular basis when they're flying fighter jets, as an example, but just, you know, in space. So there's a lot of spinning around, there's a lot of turning, and at the end of it, I had to kind of take off my headset a couple of times and just reacclimate myself to reality over how much spinning that I was going through within this kind of game. But I still think the game is pretty fun. I kind of want to try other flight games that are out there. I believe Flight Simulator also has a VR mode inside of it as well. Not to mention No Man's Sky is another game I have, but I haven't tried yet in VR. And that might also be a perfect game that you could try with this kind of system. If you guys have any other recommendations for piloting kind of games that are out there to try, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be glad to try them out. Switching gears to another game that actually came with me with a Humble Bundle that I also picked up with this VR headset. The game is called After the Fall, which is kind of like a post-apocalyptic zombie arcade shooter where I can just dual-wield guns and various other guns that are inside the game. I haven't played it too much to really have a solid opinion of it, but from the introduction that I was able to play, I thought it was kind of fun already. I can't wait to dive into this one just a little bit further. On top of this, if you are getting yourself a VR headset, I would actually recommend checking out the Humble Bundle over at humblebundle.com. Every now and then they do happen to have themselves another VR bundle that you can check out, and this might be one of those kind of games that you could jump into. Now, I do have a huge love of horror games, and I think a game like Five Nights at Freddy's, which got a remake for VR, where they kind of packaged the first couple of Five Nights at Freddy's games and made them into a VR game, is a fantastic setting for such a thing. There's a couple of other VR horror games that you want to try out there, that Phasmophobia, I believe Alien Isolation has a VR mode, and of course the next game they're going to show up on this list, Resident Evil 4, another horror game that I am already having such a blast playing that's over here. And I kind of want to be able to play more of these games, of course, in the dark, absolutely spooky, headset on, and I just want to feel like I'm actually inside these scenarios, and I want my palms to be sweating and heartbeat racing when I'm playing these games. So I can't wait to try other horror games that are out there in the VR setting. Now, for a game that I feel requires basically no introduction whatsoever, Resident Evil 4, a game that's already 18 years old at this point, released from the GameCube era, released on the PlayStation 2, released on the Wii, released on basically every console that came out after that. Had a remake in VR that came out last year, and it's exclusive to the Meta Quest 2. Now, if you're seeing this recording over here, this is actually because it's being recorded from a web browser. The Meta Quest 2 does have the ability to share its current screen that we have over here to a web browser, and that I'm just recording off of my screen off a web browser. If you guys have any suggestion or knowledge as to how better record the footage directly off of the Quest, because it does have its own built-in recorder, however, it kind of sucks. The bitrate is awful, the frame rate is terrible, the audio quality not so great. I found this web browser recording to be just a little bit better. But this game is completely changed in VR. The fact that you're able to dual wield not only your gun but a knife is kind of an overpowering feeling, especially since I've played this game at least a dozen times, various difficulties. Of course, Mercenaries in professional mode as well. Big fan of RE4 as a series. I've been playing it for quite some time right now, but this feeling, this right here, grabbing a shotgun, whipping it off your back, just blasting them, pumping them, it is such an empowering feeling, and I'm loving every single minute that I've had playing this game throughout the entire run that I've had so far. Last game I'm trying out over here is going to be Beat Saber, a game where you're essentially dual-wielding lightsabers and hitting boxes and arrows in the way that they're telling you to hit them. I'm actually a massive fan of rhythm games. I've been playing Dance Dance Revolution as an example for over 20 years in arcades. It's nice, it's fun, keeps me in shape. Taito Drum Master, another one in arcades I'm a huge fan of playing. Poppin' music as well, you know, for all of you rhythm game nerds that are out there, you probably know what games like that are like. Of course, you know, Rock Band, Guitar Hero, etc., etc. And if there's other rhythm games that are available over on the any kind of VR games, I would love to try them out. But I'm already having a lot of fun with this one that I see over here, and I'm actually already seeing myself going to try and bump up the difficulty in this one and try a lot of the harder song packs that I see that the game includes with. But this one came free with my MetaQuest 2 as well. Came with a couple of song packs, and gonna try and master those before I try jumping into more. So excited to try a couple of more VR games that are out there. And a few accessory recommendations for the MetaQuest 2, at least those that I'm going to end up grabbing. A carrying case, because I don't like how it's just kind of hanging out there, just sitting there for me. I'm going to definitely buy these set of earbuds. There's probably better ones out there, I know. I just don't want to spend too much money on earbuds that I'm only going to be using from MetaQuest 2. I am currently using just a pair of Sennheiser headphones that are over the ears, which aren't very comfortable with this set going over into this. So I'm going to go with the earbuds. And lastly, a longer cable. As I said at the beginning of the video, the 3 to 4 foot one that it comes with isn't really long enough. So I'm kind of using like a 5 foot USB 3.1 to USB-C cable. And I'm going to jump up to one like this. That's a nice 10 foot long cable that I can use. That has this nice L-shaped plug on it that can go behind my head. Maybe not one at this cost, maybe one a bit cheaper than what we see over here. But I think these kinds of accessories would really help with the VR experience. And with that, stay tuned for a couple of PC builds that are coming up over here on this channel. And until next time.